Hey guys, Asap here and welcome to PHP tutorial number 14. Today we're going to be looking at something we looked at in, if I am correct, PHP tutorial number 8, and that is processing form input. But one vital thing we didn't cover in tutorial number 8 is how to check the input. All we did was output it, we processed it. We didn't actually check to see, check for any errors or anything like that. So that's basically what we're going to be learning. We've now learned everything we needed to learn to do that, namely the if statement, of course. If this place is empty, then don't let the form be processed, etc. And finally, the for each loop to loop through arrays as well as arrays themselves. Which I'll explain when we get to that part in the tutorial. Yeah, I think you'll find it interesting. So let's get into the code, really. That's all there is to do. We're using the same form, apart from two differences. One thing we're going to be doing in this tutorial is that we're not going to be submitting and then going to another page. We're going to be submitting to the same page. So you need to change the action of the form. I've changed it to $_server PHP self, just so no matter what this page is called, it will always submit to itself, because $_server PHP self gives you the path or the file name, depending on where you upload it to that file, so that no matter where you upload it, it will always refresh. It will always submit to the same place. Because if you use an actual file name, if you change the file name, that will ruin the thing. If you use it this way, because it's a variable, it can change, so it will always work. Okay, and the only other thing that's changed in the form is the fact that we have another input type, which is a hidden input, and the name is equal to submitted and the value is true. Now what's going to happen is this hidden form input will only be created, so it will only be created if we submit the form, and it will be, because the form is a post method form, it will be created as $_post submitted. Okay, quite like that. Okay, and we're going to use that variable to, I'm pretty sure it's fairly obvious, check if the form has been submitted, because remember, it's only created when the form is submitted, so that will tell us if it has been submitted or not. And the reason we need that is because we're processing the form and having the form on the same page. So if a user comes onto the form and we don't have that checking if it's been submitted, the page might already assume that the form has been submitted and try and process data and be like, hey, wait a minute, no data was given, so I'm going to throw an error, when we don't want it to, because that user just came onto the page. And he's like, what the hell, I didn't submit any form. So we use that to check if the user's coming onto the page just now, or if he's already on the page and he's just submitted the form. Okay? So let's take a look at what's actually going to do the checking. We have an if statement here, and it's saying if, and we're using a new function. We've never seen this before. It's the isSet function, okay? And it just checks if a variable in between these parentheses has had its value set, okay? Namely, so that's why it's called isSet. So all we're doing is checking if the variable $_post submitted has been set, and if it has, that means someone submitted the array. Someone submitted the form. The second thing we're going to do is declare an array called errors. Okay, and the reason being is because we're going to store any errors, like if the user hasn't input their name or something, we're going to store that in an array, so we can have multiple errors. We're not going to, if one thing goes wrong, we're not going to stop them midway and say, that's not right. We're going to echo out all the errors in one. Okay, so we make the array. Now we're going to start checking all the form inputs, okay? We're going to say if not empty, again, the empty function, that's a new function as well. It just checks to see if a variable between the parentheses is empty or not, okay? So if the variable $_post name is not empty, make the variable $name and assign it the value of $_post name. Otherwise, errors, and then we're using this one, we're not putting a number between, because what would happen is if $_post wasn't empty and it created the variable rather than assigning a value into errors, and then we got here and favorite color was empty, so it creates a value at errors1, which, as we talked about in a previous tutorial, it's best not to create them around the place. If you want to use numerical keys, it's a good idea to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not a good idea to go 1, 5, 4, 3. So in general, you shouldn't do that, and that's why I've just done it like this. So even if this isn't created in the errors array, if this is and that wasn't, this